Welcome to the Business of Travel, the official podcast of the Global Business Travel Association. I am Verónica González, a member of the Meetings and Events Committee, and I am the Global Head of Hospitality Distribution Account Management at Amadeus, and I'll be your host for today's episode. Let's talk about how AI optimizes venue sourcing for buyers and suppliers. During GBTA convention in Hamburg last November, we talked about artificial intelligence within the context of meetings and events. We committed to bring success stories and concrete use cases within the meetings and events industry for artificial intelligence. And we are here today to talk about it. I have a talented set of panelists here with me, and they will be talking about a concrete success story around the use of AI for meetings and events. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. Let's start with Mandy. Thank you, Mandy, for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you, Verónica, for having us, right? My name is Mandy. I have been working in hospitality and dedicated to meeting and events for more than 18 years, combining the three disciplines: process optimization, commercial journey, and change management. And I'm currently heading up Radisson Hotel Group's business transformation initiatives for predominantly the sales and meeting and events stream.
So welcome, Mandy, and thank you for joining us today. How would you describe in one word your role within this AI journey?
Enabler.
Good, thank you. So let me welcome another panelist, Felix. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, hello. Great to be here. So my name is Felix. I'm one of the co-founders at Hiver AI, and I'm working in the travel tech space and innovation space since around 15 years. I've been working at companies like Expedia, the Mitago Group, Awaze Group, and so on. And at Hiver AI, we are focusing in automation with the help of artificial intelligence, and we are mainly working for hotel chains such as the Minor Hotel Group, but of course also Radisson Hotel Group, amongst many others. And great to be here today and talk about the journey of AI.
So welcome, Felix, and thank you for joining us today as well. How would you describe in one word your role within this AI journey?
Implementer, making things real.
Good. So now we have Tony. Tony, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Tony Marcelli. I'm a director of product management at Cvent. I've been with the company for more than 16 years now. And right now, my teams are developing some really cool technologies that are going to help hotels and venues more efficiently respond to group business leads using AI.
Wow, that sounds really exciting. So welcome, Tony, and thank you for joining us today. How would you describe in one word your role within this AI journey?
How about innovator?
Wow. Yeah, Moonshot. Good. Thank you so much. So now let's open the space for Gonzalo. Gonzalo, can you introduce yourself?
Of course. So my name is Gonzalo, and I'm partner at EY, and I'm leading different projects around the hospitality industry for global chains like Radisson, among others, bringing innovative solutions around the AI and other technologies to help them streamline their processes. I've been working in this industry for the last 20 years, so quite a long experience here.
Great. Thank you so much. Welcome, Gonzalo, and thank you for joining us today. So how would you describe in one word your role within this AI journey?
Okay, so I would use Catalyst, putting things together to make them work.
Love it. I love it. Thank you so much. So thank you, everyone, for being here. You've heard a lot of names, and this is the reason why. I mean, to put together this success story, it has required the collaboration of multiple players over multiple years to get it up, running, and delivering results. Our idea here today is to showcase the use case and share what has been the impact on the business so far. So we are hearing AI almost daily now, and the two letters are thrown into so many sentences. But how can it be applied to our daily business and help us out? It is really that easy to apply? Today, we will focus on an actual real-life example of creating automation within the meetings and events segment. The trend of companies consolidating their buying process through online marketplaces such as Cvent has been ongoing since several years now, where in some markets this means an online channel share versus telephone, brand web, or email of up to 40%. It also has caused a flood of low converting requests entering the meetings and events offices of the hotels, which then led to increasing response times from their end. The double entry of data in a hotel's own property management system and manually adding the same information in the marketplace's online environment has been putting more pressure on managing these requests in a timely manner. Using the low turn of pandemic, Radisson Hotel Group was looking into ways of making the end-to-end process for meetings and events easier as it is today. In the past 5 years, they have tackled different angles of the process, and one of the focus areas was looking for ways to fully and semi-automate their request handling process to anticipate the trend that would even further accelerate after the pandemic. Obviously, they faced key challenges like, can it really be done? Isn't meetings and events a people business? Personalization and automation, how that does come together? So the journey of connectivity and automation for meetings and events was long looked for, and attempts have been made. But with the help of AI, bigger leaps could be made to make it happen. For the buyers and planners out there, they just want their offer or contract in a time manner. But what happens behind the scenes to make it happen? So, Mandy, can you help us understand for what outcome were you looking for with this AI journey?
Yeah, Veronica, of course. So with society being more and more used to like being always on and fast access to information, the expectations for responding quickly and effectively grew significantly. The number of online marketplaces for meeting events has been rising year over year. So offline agencies changing their business model to become an online agency. And the way of how we are doing business has also changed and will change even further in the coming years. For the buyers, those marketplaces, of course, represent a way to consolidate their buying process and provide them with an ease in which they can approach a larger number of hotels in one go and review proposals that are being returned. And like you just mentioned already, for the hotels, that in consequence results in a high increase in demand and a large set of hotels to compete against on an already low converting business segment. So we call it the shopping segment. For hotels, the way they used to work has changed, and with those platforms, the workload also increased. With the tense labor market situation on top, it's a very tough situation in some of our markets. And of course, that had an extremely strong consequence for our guests and buyers who are confronted suddenly with extremely long waiting times and poor responses. Therefore, we have been looking for different solutions in order to support the process and speed up the processes within the M&E offices that we have in our hotels to get a better buyer experience for our customers.
Thank you so much. I think it makes sense to give a framework of the situation, right? What's happening on the demand side and how you are reacting from the hotel side to enhance the buying experience. So can you tell us, when did you start looking for solutions for this situation?
It already started actually prior to the pandemic, so roughly around 2018, when we saw already the first trends starting and more and more platforms were coming. Buyers were moving their business towards those platforms such as Cvent. So yeah, in 2018, I think we first started to have a look into, okay, what can we do? We explored the use of RPAs. RPA stands for robotic process automation. So kind of a robot that would pick up the request, put it into the system, and kind of re-upload and enter the information in the marketplace. We had several failed attempts also to be honest, right? It's life is all about trial and error. So we had some hit and misses. But our first robot went live in 2021. However, large language models such as ChatGPT that we know today were not really as attuned yet and widely available as they are now 3 years later. So even that we had it in place, we still had to kind of do a lot of manual adjustments. Our mid to long-term goal was to create like an API, which is more a direct connection between the system rather than utilizing robots to manually mimic what an end user is doing. So we focused in parallel on that, and we wanted to kind of connect our property management system as a first initial go to our brand web, where now, of course, our lovely Book It Easy, Instant Book, and Instant RFP functionality is live already. We worked together very closely with EY, so Gonzalo's team. We sat down and had a variety of workshops where we planned the whole thing out. And after the first phase, when we went live with the first phase, we quickly saw the potential of what we actually had created. So why not only connect to our brand web, but also make this API available to connect to other third-party vendors. We were also in contact with Cvent at that time to see, okay, how available and ready are you guys from your end to make it work? And then together we started figuring out how to kind of achieve our goal and map it out. We had to pause it for a bit, but we regained then the conversations again at the end of 2022. And yeah, meanwhile, while we figured out that we both had gaps at our systems end, we of course went out into the market, had further conversations. And at that time, I think it was roughly end of 2021, maybe beginning of 2022, I got a tip of a newfound company called Hiver and was introduced to Felix and his team. And then, yeah, it's kind of all started going from there.
Well, so you mentioned that you started back in 2019 before the pandemic, and you had to go through different trials and errors to get to the point that you are today, right? And in that journey, new technologies came up and became more widely available, and it helped you to get farther than where you initially thought you would land, correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as part of our 5-year plan, we have a strategic 5-year plan within Radisson Hotel Group. We kind of made it a very big pillar to see how we can optimize and the whole M&E process flow from different angles, right? So for one, of course, the automation, but there were other angles that we kind of took. Together with that, we sat down again with EY, and we've just recently finished our new SaaS solution called GEMS, which is fully integrated with the company's current property management system and supporting the whole meeting and event process, so not only the online buying segment. But whilst we were going through creating that and revamping the whole infrastructure of our system and backend, we found a lot of gaps. So it was a lot of going back to the drawing board and kind of starting again with the foundation and start of building and finishing off the roof, right? So that kind of meant a lot of flexibility for all different partners involved. Flexibility, of course, from Hiver and the guys. We have flexibility from EY. Go back again in a call to see, okay, start again, try again. Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things that we were occupied with. And then, of course, also bringing Cvent into the match was, okay, the behavior of the buyers, are they ready for it? So back in January, after a very long period of development, all parties, Cvent, EY, Hiver, and Radisson, we were ready, and we switched on our connection and our integration. What was the planned process? A buyer goes to the Cvent supplier network, enters their request, and presses send. Cvent would then send the message to Hiver, and Hiver would translate the message to feed the RHG system, meaning request is being put directly from the buyer into our Radisson Hotel Group system, skipping the whole need of sending an email, manually entering it, checking availability. So already being done and translated by Hiver back. However, when we turned on that functionality, we after a week noticed that nearly 70% of the requests turned up empty. Why, you might ask now? Well, buyers didn't complete all the necessary fields in the Cvent platform. They found it way easier just to chuck their requests into like a commentary field on the Cvent website. And I think Tony can allude later a little bit more in detail about that. And then, of course, we received an empty request and we still had to go online and kind of manually put everything in. So we had to regroup again and see what we can do to fix it. And I think the guys are better in explaining what they've done with that than I am. So I will now kind of pass the word to the more techie people in this call.
Thank you, Mandy. I think I get keywords from what you have been explaining, right? You've talked about foundations. You've talked about going back to the drawing board, but flexibility, partners, and the buyer's behavior, right? So what I see is that what we think could be very straightforward from the very beginning can turn out to be completely different, right? So you need to have that foundation and vision very clear and then get the right partners being flexible enough to understand that the buyer's behavior could be different from what was expected at the beginning, right? No. So thank you for explaining. So let's go into the techie guys. So shall we start with Felix? So Felix, how from the initial idea did your company get shaped by the evolution of the market?
Yeah, so I think Hiver AI was significantly shaped by the evolution of the market. Very specifically, I mean, if you look at the last 5 years, the pandemic, I mean, changed everything. Hiver was actually founded prior to the pandemic in 2019. But as Mandy already pointed out, I mean, during the pandemic, I think there were really two key trends. So in the hospitality sector, number one was a shortage of labor. And that led to the fact that a lot of requests that were coming in again in 2022, 2023, actually it took a super long time to respond to these incoming requests because, again, the hotels had a shortage of staff. So that means increasing response times, increasing timeouts. So sometimes hotels were not able at all to respond. And that ultimately, because of a second trend, Mandy also elaborated on this already, like the always-on generation, like zero attention span for anything, like instant gratification. Customers expected super fast proposals and a reply. And if you now put both things together, essentially hotels not being able anymore to send proposals fast, but on the other side, customers expecting it, conversion rates dropped. So the minority of proposals sent actually converted to bookings. So this is really where Hiver came in and where Hiver accelerated in the last years during that phase. And our solution ultimately automates data entry, takes an RFP, enters it into the downstream system of a hotel, automates availability checks, automates pricing checks, structures data that is maybe unstructured, which ultimately decreases the response times for hotels. It increases the conversion rates, it decreases timeouts. And Radisson was one of the clients that really kind of drove this as one of the first actually in the industry, I think, for the last years. And just to give you some context, so Radisson has been able to really close their timeout ratio. So before they had 2022, 2023, like timeouts sometimes up until 40%-ish around that corner. Now timeouts are not an issue at all anymore. So there are zero timeouts or close to zero timeouts, which ultimately nearly doubled their response rates, number one. And number two, they have been cutting down their response time nearly by half. So double the business in half of the time pretty much. So that's where the effects of the implementation with Radisson.
Oh, thank you for bringing up some KPIs as well. So I think we are trying to showcase here that even if we all talk about artificial intelligence and the beauties of it, getting into action and getting the results out of it, it's not that easy, right? And it may require different partners to work around it. So thank you. And Felix, what has been your experience after working with this great partner like Radisson? How would you explain it?
So yeah, I would maybe. I mean, there are a lot of different learnings, right? But if you look mainly at the demand side of things and looking at this from a marketplace point of view and how to connect to marketplaces, which Halva ultimately does for Radisson. So we are really kind of dividing the demand landscape or the marketplace landscape into two different dimensions. So the one is the willingness to integrate. So if you look at different marketplaces, so some have a very high willingness to integrate. On the other side, you have marketplaces that basically want to run a closed shop. And on the other side, we look at it from a data quality point of view. So let me quickly elaborate on that. So willingness to partner, if you look across different regions, you see, as an example, in the US, Cvent super willing to partner, to integrate, to exchange data. Also other players, such as an example, Meeting Select in Benelux, the Mitago Group in Germany, Hubly, Vendor Directory. So they're all very keen to integrate. On the other side, you have players that, again, as I said, like want to run a closed shop. So that was a big learning for us to really navigate and for Hyro to navigate that ecosystem with these different interests on the one side. And then this is more relevant for the whole AI journey. You have marketplaces that act more like I would say like a venue directory, like venue finders. And their function usually is to just pump as much RFPs and create as much demand as possible and make it as simple as possible for planners to enter RFPs. And with that comes kind of, I mean, let's not call it low data quality, but the data is usually unstructured. It's very unstructured. It's not coming in a super structured manner. That's on the one side. And on the other side, you have marketplaces that act more like a procurement system, and they are super structured. So it's much easier to automate. And that's kind of really the learning we have made the last years, that the market is super fragmented along these dimensions. On the one side, willingness to integrate, and on the other side, data quality, which ultimately, we come later to this, requires new technologies to be used.
Great. So we can understand from here that not everyone is willing to play the game or not willing to play the game the same way, right? Depending on how open they are to integrate or not. Great. And going through the process with Radisson Hotel Group, EY, and Cvent, what were your greatest learnings or challenges to overcome?
Yeah, I think if you look at so Hyro classically started out in Europe, Central Europe, because there's, I mean, as an example, Germany is the second, third largest market in the world. So Hyro started from here pretty much. And the moment we integrated into Cvent, actually, because Cvent being a massive player, but obviously in the US, the types of requests coming in dramatically changed. So Cvent is serving much larger RFPs, much larger booking values, many more participants on one RFP, longer booking windows and so on. So the RFPs coming in from Cvent, they are not the typical 30 people simple meeting requests, but they are, at least the stuff that we are seeing is large requests coming in. So highly complex, super complicated. And what we had to learn is that you have to really serve both sides of the aisle. So on the one side, super complex RFPs, and with complexity comes the challenge to automate. So we had to find a way to automate availability, automate prices, also for these complex requests, and not just for the simple 30 people meeting requests. And as Mandy already said early on, a lot of the data coming from Cvent is coming through comments, so customers are not filling out all the required RFP fields because they might find it a little bit too cumbersome, or their request is just too complex, so they are putting it into comments, or they are merging different agenda items, and so on and so on. And so we had to find a way on the one side to have a simple and stupid system that everyone can use, but on the other side to also have a system that can cater to these super complicated needs and handle that. And that, I think, is really one of the learnings, that it's important to be flexible and nimble and to be able to adjust fast depending on where an RFP is coming from, and so on, yeah.
I love the sentence of serving the two sides of the aisle. thinking about the super complex event and the simple 30 people
Yeah.
request.
Yeah. And if I could sorry, add there, so you have 70% of the market is like simple meetings, but on the other side, 30% is complex meetings, but they drive kind of 50% of the business. So it's really kind of, you need to do both. It's not possible just to focus on one of the segments.
Yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes the simple 30 people request that represent that 70% that you have just mentioned requires a lot of work for very little return, right? So automation plays a key role right there. So I like it very much, the way that you have put it together. And now I'm going back to what Mandy mentioned, right? She talked about flexibility, as you just mentioned, but she also talked about we had to go back to the drawing board, right? So I'm sure you have seen yourselves, the different players working around that drawing board once and again, right? A few times like that over the AI journey. So what solution did Hyver come up with to still enable the development when you had to go back to the drawing board?
Yeah, so as Mandy said, so around 70% of the requests coming in were unfortunately in the integration project between EY, Cvent, and Radisson were pretty much unstructured. So this was a significant challenge, so which we actually learned quite late in the process, because we have been integrating according to API documentation. But unfortunately, the reality is that, as we said already, like the customers not necessarily have filled out the RFP forms as they should have done it. So a lot of unstructured things came in, and Hyver built already in the 2 years ago different AI-based models that have been automating emails, so fully unstructured information. And what we have been doing is we said, like, okay, I mean, we already have models for emails, so why don't we start applying the AI models that structure unstructured emails into fully structured data objects, like with the different days, different meeting rooms, the different participant counts, and so on. Like, why don't we take our email model that has been developed already a while back and adjust this towards the unstructured kind of comments from Cvent. And ultimately, what happens now is that all the unstructured comments that are coming in, they are fully structured and pushed fully automatically into Radisson's system. So there is no manual data entry anymore. There is no interpretation of comments. What does the organizer mean actually by saying X, Y, and Z? So everything is taken via an AI model, structured and automatically pushed into the Radisson system without any manual data entry, saving the Radisson team a lot of time, ultimately able to respond faster and increasing conversion rates. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Felix. So you mentioned or you described yourself as the implementer in this AI journey, and I truly see where those implementations come into the picture. So thank you for your comments. So let's go into Tony. Tony, you represent Cvent. Cvent is obviously your reference in this segment for the hotel industry, and you've been looking into integration directly with hotels for, you may have been one of the first ones to start looking into that direct integration, right? So what was your initial plan?
Oh, wow. Our initial plan here. We're going way back. So our first integration with hotels rolled out shortly after we launched our supplier network all the way back in 2008. At that time, we wanted to make sure our buyers' RFPs were being seen and responded to by hotels. We were a brand new marketplace. We didn't have a lot of brand equity. So we had to do what we can to, make sure hotels were understanding what Cvent was, who our planners were, and basically how real the business we were pushing through our network was at the time. Taking those RFPs and pushing them automatically into hotel systems where they're working day in and day out through an integration was the best way to do that at the time, still is. And so we did that, and we saw a lot of success with that approach. Very quickly, we had multiple chains that subscribed to that integration. And as they did, we saw our response rates and our response times improving across our network. So ultimately, we believe that's the key to a healthy marketplace. The buyers have to be there. The sellers have to be there too. And the communication, the back and forth between them, it needs to be fast and easy. So we've really focused on taking that model and expanding the number of systems we integrate with. And we've opened up our API. We've made it available to partners like Hyver to let them connect into our marketplace too. As a result, we now have more than 40,000 hotels around the world that are integrated directly into our marketplace and streamlining their sales processes.
Wow, 40,000. That's amazing. So, and you started in 2008. Good. So, you've been one of the first ones in the market with this business model. What do you think is changing for customers now?
It's a great question. I think the biggest change has been the people in the industry, actually, and just how much knowledge and how many relationships have been lost since the pandemic. We've got a lot of new buyers in the industry and a lot of new sellers too. And not everyone knows all of the best practices at this point. So that's slowing down the buying process. There's knowledge gaps in addition to technology issues that we as an industry need to continue on to focus on solving and closing in order to make things more efficient. One of the things we're doing at Cvent is we've recently launched a redesigned RFP process for our buyers, and it's designed to be easier for new planners to create their RFPs using those best practices, including building out some of the agendas we've been talking about. We've also baked in some great AI-based writing assistance to make it less time-consuming for those planners to actually go out and create those well-qualified RFPs. We're seeing great adoption with this new platform. We've started sending all of our new planners who sign up for an account on Cvent to that new experience. We're seeing them send RFPs, and we're now in the process of transitioning our largest customers to that new experience as well. We expect most of our RFPs will be flowing through that new experience by the end of the year, and that should really improve the quality of the typical Cvent RFP that you see going through our network and really help make the business that's flowing through it more qualified than ever.
I'm happy that you're touching on that point because I've been a hotelier before, right? And being sitting in a place very close to where Mandy is sitting right now. And I truly get that is a big pain for them, right? How qualified those RFPs are. And if you're investing there, that's fantastic news, definitely. Great. Thank you, Tony. So coming back to the Radisson Hotel Group and the AI use case that we're showcasing here. So when connecting Radisson Hotel Group and Hiver to your network, what challenges did you come across and how are you solving them?
Yeah, as Felix and Mandy both alluded to earlier, one of the biggest challenges that Radisson raised up to us into Hiver was around handling the meeting space requirements for an event. Here at Cvent, we allow planners to build out incredibly detailed agendas in their RFPs, and those are designed to be easy to import into a hotel system through an integration like we have with Hiver. But as we deployed this integration, what we found out is that a lot of the planners that are sending RFPs to Radisson, they're not taking advantage of those agendas that we have in our tool, and they're relying on text descriptions or attached files, which is really limiting the efficiency that the integration can bring. That's partly due to those planners being newer planners that I mentioned and just not knowing the value of using Cvent's agenda, which we're working on solving. But it's also because they're not the ones creating these agendas. They're getting them from their stakeholders. And rather than rewriting them or manually entering them into our system, they're just copying and pasting them or even just attaching a file to their RFP and saying, hey, please reference the attached agenda. And hotel systems can't read that. So in order for a hotel salesperson to correctly evaluate these leads, get them set up in their system, block space, they've got to manually enter these agendas in their sales and catering system. And that's a challenge because it's not fun to do that. Some of these agendas can be big, like Felix was saying. They can have hundreds of functions defined in them. And it's very time consuming to key that in. And then also to send those meeting room assignments back to the planner to review and better evaluate the proposals that come back to their RFP. So we're tackling that challenge on both sides of the network. For those planners, we're giving them access to a new tool this month. It's going to be launching in beta, and it's going to use AI to let them easily build or import an agenda that they have through their stakeholder directly into Cvent. AI is just going to take care of the more tedious data entry and let them focus on quickly defining the rest of their RFP. So as we do that, as we push things into structured data in Cvent, that's going to make things much easier for Hiver and Radisson to determine what meeting spaces they should go and block out for a group in their system. And then for the hotels, we're focused on addressing the challenges on the response process there by delivering new API capabilities that are going to allow those meeting room assignments to automatically be pushed back into Cvent. So a salesperson doesn't need to block them out in the S&C and then manually go back into Cvent and then copy those assignments into our proposal as well. It's all going to be connected and much quicker.
Well, I mean, you've mentioned here many different use cases, right? But I keep seeing here how focused you need to be on the user behavior, right? How they use the different functionalities. And I'm happy to hear that AI can help all of us, not only the users that you have behind, but also us here connected for this podcast on our day-to-day tedious data entry, right? So I'm sure all of us, we've seen each other doing some copy paste of big documents. So having AI working on, so having AI working on our favor sounds like super appealing, right?
Oh yeah.
So what's next for automation? Are you looking to leverage AI more on the hotel side, Tony?
Definitely. We're actually working on a tool that we're calling the Custom Question Assistant right now, and it heavily uses AI. Cvent planners can add customizable questions to their RFPs to help them better understand a hotel's fit for their event or their group. And these types of questions can be very time consuming for a person to answer, but they're great for an AI to tackle and answer if you train the AI right. So that's what we're doing right now. That new assistant has access to hotels' past proposals, see what they answered on other questions in the past, as well as information right on its profile on our network. And the AI assistant is going to automatically answer questions using that data. Our analysis is that's going to cut down the amount of time salespeople need to spend researching and answering questions significantly. Across our network, we think it's going to save thousands of hours in the proposal process each year. So that's another tool that we have using AI. We're currently beta testing it with the help of Radisson and a few other hotels. And we're looking forward to making it generally available probably around the end of the year, or maybe the start of the next year.
Wow, so now I see why you described your role as innovator in this AI journey, right? Good. So thank you so much, Tony. So let me give some space for Gonzalo to speak here as well. So Gonzalo, we do not easily correlate the name of EY with the travel industry. So what experience does EY have in the travel industry and how did it apply to this initiative?
Indeed, EY may not be the first name that comes to mind when thinking about the travel industry, although we are a strong player there. You need to remember that EY is one of the 4 largest professional service companies in the globe, and we are supporting different industries and our customers on their business and technology needs. Talking about travel industry and technology, we have established our Center of Excellence for the hospitality industry in Barcelona. From this center, we are supporting a variety of customers, from large leading hotel chains like Radisson to medium to small size hotel chains. What we are doing in that center, we are helping transform the industry from the hotel standpoint, providing leading edge technology for hotel chains like CRS, PMS, meetings and events, all the tools that a hotel chain needs to support and to streamline the hotel's operations and services. We are really focused on providing top-notch technologies that streamline those operations. If we talk about artificial intelligence, we are lucky that we have one of our global centers of excellence of AI located in Spain as well. So we are working very closely and together, using their expertise and leveraging their experiences and tools to provide innovative solutions to our customers in the hospitality industry, including the one that we are discussing today.
Wow, so now I understand why you said you are the catalyst here. So having that global center of excellence in Spain, I'm sure it has helped a lot in this, or has contributed a lot to the success of this use case, right? Yeah. Good. So what unique value did EY bring to this project?
Well, Good question. I think that the unique value that AY provided to this project came from, I would say, three main strengths. First of all, we've been working with Radisson for the last 6 years, about 6 years, something like that, very, very closely, and we have a deep knowledge of their processes, their operations, and their reality. Second, as mentioned, we have different centers of excellence. One of them focus only on the travel and hospitality industry, and we are investing a lot of new technologies. So we could use those new technologies in this project to streamline and not start from scratch. And last but not least, we need to remember that once a buyer has created an RFP that goes through Cvent to Hyper and lands into Radisson, it's time for Radisson to answer it as fast as possible, optimizing revenue and while providing a unique value proposition so the Radisson proposal stands out from the crowd, I would say. No? Our knowledge of the end-to-end processes of Radisson allow us to support them on implementing that tool that help them streamline the process for the sales agent while providing optimal quotations that were aligned with the operational capabilities and needs at the hotel level. Because we need to sell, but we also need to deliver that service.
I love it. Thank you for finishing with not only selling is enough, but you need to deliver what you sell, right? So you mentioned another very important thing, and it's end-to-end processes or end-to-end operations, and that is becoming really challenging, right? Because of how the journey looks like for the meetings and events, it makes it even more complex, right? To fulfill the whole end-to-end journey, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what challenges did EY face in implementing these solutions?
Well, I think we all share the same kind of challenges as discussed by my colleagues previously. If I had to mention another one of my own, I would say that the beauty of that industry is that if you look at the processes from the high level, they look very simple. I would say everybody knows what is a check-in, a checkout, what is an event. But when you get into the details, they get really, really complex, as we were mentioning. No, they are even, I would say, even the simpler events may have unique requirements. And it's important to say that even in a medium-sized event quotation, we may find thousands of unique scenarios and different ways to answer that request. Every hotel is different, and every event has unique requirements. And all this without talking about languages, cultural differences, legal requirements in every jurisdiction, currencies, and so on and so forth. The challenge that we had here is that we were tasked to create and to help create a tool for Radisson that is streamline that quotation process in this hyper-connected scenario with major players like Hyper and Cvent. So we are not talking about small ones and simple requests. And we were clear from the very beginning that an approach of one size fits all won't suffice at all. The challenge, I would say, was not just implementing a very complex solution in the details with a lot of business rules, with a beautiful simplicity from the sales engine point of view, so it was very easy for them to answer to that request, but do it also in a way that harmonizes the downstream processes at the operational level. And I think that we as a team, all the partners talking today, we were able to achieve that from the buyer to the supplier point of view. But also, I think it's fair to recognize that we could only do that thanks to the guidance and leadership of Mandy and her team. That really, really helped.
Yeah, I truly think that we need leadership, right, to get all the partners to work aligned around the same objective. And I totally support you on Mandy's leadership to make this a success. So I want to stress on a few things that you have mentioned, and I will put it in my own words, right? So I think evil is in the details, for sure. The bigger the event, the more complex the details become. And a lot of meeting planners or the people that are involved in meeting planning need to become control freaks to be able to manage these big events, right? So what we're talking about is dealing with high complexity and becoming truly accurate at the same time, right? To be able to serve those two sides of the aisle that Felix mentioned. So thank you so much, Gonzalo. So last question for you. What future opportunities does EY see in AI for travel and hospitality?
Well, as I mentioned, we have a global center of excellence for artificial intelligence. We are investing billions on that technology, and we have like a outlook to see what are the global trends that will disrupt the industry. But in a nutshell, I think that everybody will agree that AI is on the first stages of deployment, and that it will disrupt not only the travel industry, but every industry in ways that we do not even imagine today. That's why I prefer to focus on creating practical short-term use cases that deliver tangible value to our customers. Examples of this, of things that we're doing, is enhancing the capabilities of the sales teams. As an example, by using AI, we are able to equip sales teams with real-time insights and recommendations as they are building their quotation. We're also using AI, for example, to automate activities and interactions that couldn't be automated before, since they require natural language understanding. And now with AI, we are able to automate those things. Focusing on the meetings and events, we are starting to use also AI to create new content during the quotation creation process and to identify which RFPs and RFQ have greater chances of being converted into actual sales for that specific hotel for that specific dates. So the sales teams can really focus on the ones that will generate more potential revenue to the company. Honestly, if you ask me, what we think is that is more important for our customers is to start adopting these new technologies of AI rather than choose the dry one. No? There are multiple use cases we were discussing. All the partners, all the ecosystem is embracing AI, but it's also important to expose the organization of the hotel chains, as an example, to that transformative solutions, because we need to have a change of mindset. AI will disrupt everything and obviously will transform the way that our customers and our buyers create a request for an event. And we need to ready ourselves for a hyper-connected world where answering with the right price, right service mix, and with the right time is the only available option for success. If not, we will fail. And only with the kind of projects that we are discussing today that are transformative and that are fully integral with the full ecosystem and also pushing the organization to have that change of mindset, we will be able to embrace this revolution.
Thank you so much for explaining so well how you see AI in the travel industry and beyond, right? I would only take one word out of it, and it's adoption, right? So it's easier to talk than walking our talk, correct? So I'm really looking forward to see more and more use cases in place and see the results. So let's talk results. The moment of truth has arrived, and I want to know how you work together to make this work, and I want to listen about results if you can share them, right? So I'm not sure who should answer any of the questions, so you can be spontaneous here. I would like to understand, how did you work to make this together? How do you work together to make this work?
Just fine. No, just joking. However, I'm not going to lie. We've had heated discussions, debates, of course. At one point, tension, of course, gets up. Working under a little bit of a time pressure, left, right, and center, of course, always with different people, different opinions. We all need to bring all of that and all of the different interests under one umbrella, right? So just allowing those discussions also to happen and to, of course, also allowing for the heat to happen. And then at the end, come out together and say, okay, yeah, we found a solution. I think that's been the key that we've seen through the last, 2 years, I would say, since we worked on this project all together. So, yeah, I think that's it, Veronica.
Thank you. So anyone wants to add anything to what Mandy explained? Maybe not. So I love the part of allowing the heat to happen. Yeah, so it's not only to have discussions, but allowing the hit to happen to be able to come up with solutions, right? So would you say that time and effort stack is bringing the desired outcome?
So I would say it really does. Albeit the world of connectivity for meeting and events is still uncharted territory, and many suppliers have now woken up and are looking for ways to tap into the trend and to earn money from it, right? That's always when new things start to happen. What can we do with this? What new business models will come in the future? Question mark. We, however, have been able to set the example and start the trend in a flexible manner to adjust also to those new business models that will arise moving forward.
So let's talk numbers. Can you share any results?
Yeah, I think Felix already mentioned a couple, right, Felix? And yeah, maybe you want to repeat the results that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think the most outstanding one is probably the reduction of timeouts. So again, a timeout, what is a timeout? A timeout is a request coming in from a customer, and that request is never answered, or at least not within SLAs. So SLAs depend on the portal, sometimes 48 hours, 96 hours. But timeout is really kind of key KPI. So before, Radisson had timeouts of around, depending a bit on the market, the segment, the hotel, but around 40%. And now with the automation solution in place, I mean, timeouts is really not a main concern anymore. It's like low single digits. So timeout reduction, and that ultimately increases your response rate. So the number of times you are able to respond to a customer, which nearly doubled. And then the other item we look at is the response speed. So how fast are you responding, which kind of halved. So now basically, Radisson is responding 2 times as fast as they have been responding before, which ultimately drives up conversion. Because a number here, so this is not purely only for Radisson, but it's a market number. So if you are able to reply as a first or second one on the marketplace, depends a little bit again on the segment and the market and so on, but your proposals are converting around 18, 19, 20, 21% around that mark. But if you are replying at, let's say, 5th, 6th, or 7th with a proposal, you are only converting your proposals at the market allowed 4, 5, 6, 7%. And so these are kind of the KPIs we look at. It's conversion, it's timeout, it's response rate, and to just share some initial results.
Thank you. I think it's illustrating very much the impact of this AI development. So what would you say is next?
Educating and pushing more marketplaces towards an integration. Of course, also working together with current marketplaces that are connected to our ecosystem to not only provide a one-way integration, but a two-way integration. And of course, besides the adoption from the outside, we also have to work on our inside change management and adoption, because also, of course, the way we used to do business is changing. So it's also internal training. How do I anticipate? How do I steer the business in a more strategic manner? How do we work together internally to kind of optimize as well? And then, of course, over the next couple of weeks and months, to start also to talk to our customers and the buyers out there to see if they've positively noticed any changes, because at the end, we are doing it to create a perfect customer journey, right?
Correct. And this may be transparent for the customers, right? They don't see it, but it's happening behind the scenes. That's how we started the conversation, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for showcasing this use case. I would add a few things to it. So I think it couldn't have happened without clarity. I truly think clarity leads to power, and without a very clear vision and a strong leader like Radisson Hotel Group and Mandy with a very clear direction where they want to go, and the right partners showing the right flexibility, I'm sure this couldn't have been a story that we would be telling in this podcast, right? So thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Gonzalo. You have been listening to The Business of Travel, the official podcast of the Global Business Travel Association. For more information about GBTA and its work, visit gbta.org. And be sure to rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. Until next time, thank you for listening.